Hi there, welcome back. It's really loud here. I'm trying to wait for it to quiet down, but I don't think it's going to. And I really need to get these videos done. The weather, I can only do these videos when it's relatively warmer, so the sun needs to be out to provide light for the video, and so it's not too cold in here. My laptop is in really poor shape, which is what I'm filming this on. So to continue, where I left off, I had this newly developed, really severe OCD. I had never dealt with anything like it in my life. I didn't know what to do. I was terrified by it. The result of it was I didn't sleep, and I was terrified of not sleeping. I ended up, after this second bout of the second OCD attack, I stopped going to work. I did my best to leave them a message. I left the owner of the company, I think, 3 messages, because phone calls, text messages, any form of communication to me was dangerous. I had to get it done just the right way, and I was terrified of basically any action that I embarked on. I didn't know if I would ever be able to stop doing that action because I was worried that I wouldn't do it correctly. I phoned him. I left a voicemail. I left 3 voicemails. I couldn't explain the actual reason for my absence, and I didn't know how long I was going to be gone for. In the end, I spent about a month and a half locked in my bedroom. I was afraid to leave my bedroom. I was afraid to leave my bed, because anytime I left and did anything from my bed, I was afraid that I would never make it back to my bed, because I would find myself in an endless cycle of performing these rituals to try to get something right. And if I didn't, the result would be I would never sleep again. I had no idea what to do. I wasn't eating almost anything at all. I would wait for just the right opportunity to go into the kitchen, which was, and anything could be some sort of trigger to set this off. So I had to wait for no cars going by, all sorts of stuff. It was just an impossible task. And I would sneak into the fridge or something real quick and grab something, bring it back to my bedroom, and feel safer on my bed. And I would try to eat. And so what I had was some bread and some sandwich meat, and I would put a piece of sandwich meat on there, but as another sacrifice to this thing, trying to plead with it, please, don't. I was doing anything. I was in a realm that I was completely unfamiliar with. I didn't know how to deal with this. I wouldn't eat. And I would make myself half a sandwich, and I would spit up most of it. I was so hungry. I was starving. And I would have, some bites of sandwich in my mouth, and I would so desperately want to eat this. And I would say, if I spit this back out, maybe that sacrifice will stop it from harming me. I was a desperate person. I was searching for anything. I lost so much weight. There was nothing left to me. I was maybe eating 100 or so calories a day. I mean, I was almost consuming no food for a month and a half. I didn't shower. I didn't shower for months. I was terrified to get into the shower, for fear that I would never leave the shower. I could go on and on about, I was terrified about everything. This is not me. This is not the person I was. I was I was in hell. I was in hell. I knew that I had to pay rent. So rent became due during this time that I was locked in my bedroom, and I wrote out so many rent checks because I just couldn't get it right the right way, whatever that means. I don't know how many books of checks I went through to do it right, and finally I got this rent check written out. I put it in an envelope. I made my way ever so carefully outside. It was nighttime by the time I got this rent check into the check box. The landlord had put these new check boxes on the rent check lock boxes. One of them, on the side of the apartment building. I deposited this into the box. I got back and I made it back into my bedroom, onto my bed, and I realized I think I actually did make a mistake. Something, I spelled something incorrectly or something, and I had spent hours trying to get this rent check into that box, and I had to go back out and devise a way to fish this rent check out of this locked box without damaging the box. I managed to get the envelope out. I was right. I actually had made some sort of mistake after dozens of times writing out this rent check. So the process began again. This was an absolute nightmare. I finally, at some point, before daybreak, got the second. I got the rent check into the envelope, into the box, and that was it. I got back into my room and just stayed in there. I knew that this couldn't go on. I was dying. I wasn't eating. I was to look at me, I looked like I was starving. My body, there was just nothing left of me. I decided that I would write a contract with my mind. Something in my mind, what I had determined was a part of my mind had gone rogue, and I had no longer any control of it. I initially, the way I ended up approaching this was trying to befriend this part of my mind, coaxing it back. God, this was so hard. It was so, this sounds crazy, probably to everybody, like I'm insane. I was, all of these stresses that I had on me, and this lifelong battle with dizziness, and I had done so much work to get to a manageable state, and I really had. It was something I could really live with. People had pushed me to well beyond my limit, and with all of these stresses, everything, I broke. This was me broken. I don't know if it would be called a nervous breakdown, I was not functional. I was dying. I really can't. I'm not being hyperbolic. I was dying. I was starving. And I was so terrified constantly. I decided to make a contract with my mind. So I sat on my bed, motionless for, I think, 4 to 6 hours. Absolutely motionless. I had a moleskin notebook, and I began drafting up a contract with this rogue part of my mind saying, okay, like, you have requirements right now. Some of those requirements are that I perform these rituals so that I can sleep. Let's establish some common ground here. I can't, because we are the same mind. We are of the same mind, and we don't want to perish. We have to work together to reunite and function properly, because this is going to kill me. It's going to kill us. And I'm having this internal dialogue with this part of my mind, and I'm writing out this contract. And I used up the whole moleskin notebook. I don't think I started in the beginning of it. I started somewhere, used up a lot. It was a very long contract, and I was writing it in very neat penmanship. And it went over. I was trying to cover every single possible base, giving no caveats for it to damage me. So there will be no, I'm not going to go through the whole contract, because my goodness, that would take forever. But as an example, these rituals that I was conducting, they would no longer, I would never do the ritual more than 3 times. If I attempted, put in a good faith effort to conduct that ritual properly, and I failed after 3 times, it would be considered acceptable. That's another example is at no point in time did any rituals involve breaking the law, harming people or animals or property, just not breaking the law and not doing anything immoral or unethical, so on and so forth. Covering my bases, I spent so many hours absolutely motionless. I didn't move a muscle except for my hands. I can't tell you, it was just absolute hell. And I didn't know if this would work. This was a Hail Mary move. I didn't know if making this deal, making this contract with this rogue part of my mind, because it's my mind, I mean, really, was this going to be effective? And I had no idea. So I drafted up this contract. It wound up being very long and very thorough. At some point, I was in such bad shape. The contract appeared to be working. I've wanted to forget all of this, because really it's the best way to, I mean, it doesn't matter if I get better at this point anyways, I'm done. But I needed to release this from my life, and I've had to hold on to this information because I've needed to tell this story. And after presenting this, I can finally let go of it. I was terrified still. I hadn't left my room in forever. I drove up to my parents' house. I was very frightened by seeing my landlord. I was afraid he would set off a a cascade of these rituals that I wouldn't survive. I went there with the hopes to heal, but with the very real prospect that I was entering a stage where I'd have to end it all. I didn't want to. I desperately wanted to live. So desperately. There's so much I wanted to do in this life. But if this condition won, and I was never able, the prospect of never being able to sleep again and having to deal with the severity of dizziness that is brought about by lack of sleep, it gets worse and worse the longer I don't sleep. And then anyway, that was an unacceptable fate for me, and I would have to explore an exit strategy. And I went to my parents' house hoping that I could heal there, but having to stare the possibility of this being, I was approaching the end. I was staring that, in the face, and it was anyway. I made it to my parents' house. I remember getting there, and I felt it felt nice. It felt it felt familiar, and I remember it smelled nice in there, and I wanted to get better, and so I began my really trying to get better. I'm going to stop this video, and I'll pick up in the next one. I'll see you then.